YouTube? It's One Way Up here, back with another video. And in this video I will be comparing the Nissan Murano against the Chevy Blazer. So both of these mid-size SUVs start at around the same price point of the upper 20s. Nissan starting at around 32 MSRP for the base model, while the Chevy Blazer starts at around 28. And both of these mid-size SUVs have seating for 5, similar storage capacities, and similar features for each of their trim levels. So the Nissan Murano that I have here is an SV all-wheel drive model, and the Chevy Blazer is an all-wheel drive LT model. So looking at both of these cars, they both have sporty and interesting styling. So as far as looks, both of these cars do bring their own design languages, and I wouldn't give the edge to either vehicle in particular. That's more of a personal preference. In my opinion, I think the Nissan Murano does have nice sharp edges, and I think it looks a little bit more luxurious in this color tone and combination with the silver and the wheels. I think it looks great with the setup. And the Chevy Blazer also has sharp edges as well, but in my opinion, I think the Blazer looks a little bit better from the front. The Murano looks a little bit better from the side. But looking at both grills, the Chevy's grills looks a little bit more sporty in my opinion. Both headlights look nice. Chevy's a little bit more sleeker. The grill on the Nissan Murano is similar to what's on the road, just a little bit bigger. Moving over to the side profile of the Chevy Blazer, nothing really stands out too much from the side profile in my opinion. Now they do have a little bit of a half floating roofline that they have in the back of the behind the rear window, but other than that, I mean, it is a nice looking car. Like I said, if you think the Blazer looks better or the Murano looks better, I wouldn't really be able to argue either point. Moving over to the rear of the Blazer, do get dual exhaust, which is nice. The Blazer all-wheel drive badge. I feel like the back on the Blazer is a little bit bland in my opinion, but the lights do look really nice, I must say. And moving over to the Murano, I do love how they updated the rear taillights, and it looks more sporty, and I like how the exhaust, the shape of the exhaust is more rectangular. So I would give the edge to the Murano in terms of rear styling. Now, both of these cars do have the option to get all-wheel drive, and both of these do have remote start. So this is the Chevy key. Just hit the horn, hold the circle. And with the Murano, still have the same Nissan key that they've had for a while now. Just the horn. Now I do like the little lights that the Nissan has that kind of glows orange when you remote start it. So now we're going to start with the Chevy Blazer. Both cars are remote start and keyless entry. Opening up the Blazer, you can see that it does have more modern interior styling than the Murano, in my opinion. I'll give you guys a look. You have the Bose sound system speaker, and the screen is very nice in here. This is also keyless entry as well. Opening up the Murano. Now I will say that this interior does look and feel very plush on the inside, but as far as design, I feel like the Chevy Blazer looks more modern. With the steering wheel, the way the screen's set up and all that, I feel like it looks more modern. So stepping into the Nissan Murano, start button is down there. And I'm going to pop the hood for you. So opening up the Nissan Murano, this vehicle comes with a standard 3.5 liter V6 engine. It's across all trim levels of this vehicle, and it offers 260 horsepower, and it is connected to a CVT transmission. So with this engine, you do get, a decent amount of power for a vehicle of this size, and it gets the job done. So now opening up the motor on the Chevy Blazer. With this vehicle, you have two different engine options. You do have a V6 that this one is equipped with, puts out around 306 horsepower, so you do get more horsepower than the Murano. And there's also an inline turbo 4 that puts out around 230 horsepower. So you do get two different engine choices for the Blazer, and also you do get a better 9-speed transmission, which works much better than a CVT in my opinion. Okay, so opening up the Murano, like I said, this interior does feel very plush. And stepping into it, closing the door, the steering wheel needs to be updated in my opinion. This is a similar steering wheel that's been on the Pathfinder, and I feel like this should be updated. The center stack should be changed. This vehicle's been around for a few years now, so it should be time for a refresh. But as far as like interior quality, I do love how soft and plush it feels. Now the plastic hair isn't bad because I like the color of it and how it doesn't feel as hollow as other SUVs would feel. But you do have nice soft padding, and I feel like overall, like, they've generally used good quality materials in this interior for this vehicle. The center armrest, very nice and plush. The chairs, this doesn't have leather seats like the Blazer, but these Nissan Zero Gravity NASA inspired seats, whatever they call it, are very comfortable. I'll take great, soft, comfortable cloth seats over decent mid-level leather seats any day of the week. This car feels very soft, and the roof line feels nice. Okay, so now opening up the Blazer. See, this one has leather seats. Stepping into it, the remote start button is higher. Closing the door. Now the interior quality on this, I feel like, doesn't feel as soft as the Murano. I feel like there's more plastic all around in general, and more hard touch area. So even the parts that are leather wrapped, I feel like they're firm, but that's probably the look that they were going for with this Chevy Blazer. The armrest is not as plush in my opinion, but still a nicely laid out interior though. Steering wheel looks more modern, looks a little bit better in my opinion. The rear view mirror looks great. Center armrest, I feel like you do get less space up front in this one. So back in the Murano, with the way it's laid out, I feel like it's a little bit more bland compared to the Blazer. Down here you do get a older style shifter, and you move it over to shift into manual mode, back into park. In reverse, you do get guidance lines as you turn the wheel. Now you do get a nice, decent sized screen, but the camera quality on this screen is not as good as the one on the Blazer. Let me shift back into park. Now moving over to the infotainment system. The infotainment system for the Murano is the same one that Nissan uses in its Rogue and Maxima. and I feel like it is pretty easy to use, but I do prefer Chevy's MyLink system better to it. I think it looks more pleasing to the eye and a little bit brighter in general. I don't like the look that kind of has like a dark look to Nissan's infotainment system, so I would prefer the Blazer and give the edge to that vehicle in terms of the infotainment system. And for the climate controls, it's pretty straightforward. Dual zone climate controls, change your mode, direction of the fan. Alright, so in the Blazer, I do like how everything is laid out in this vehicle. I feel like it's a little bit more modern and sleeker. I do like how the screen is kind of integrated into the dash, but it's also kind of popping out a little bit. It doesn't look like it's tacked on like in a lot of other vehicles that they're doing nowadays. But I do love how these vents are free flowing. You can customize like which direction you want it to blow air to easily, and you can turn these knobs to adjust the temperature around each vent, and it is dual zone, which is really cool. That is a great design that I gotta give GM credit for. Other climate controls are down here. Now moving up to the infotainment system, I do think that Chevy's infotainment system is easier and it looks better than Nissan's infotainment system. I feel like it's easier to use. You do get a little bit of feedback when you touch it, which is just nice. And also, when you shift to reverse, you do get 360-degree camera in this model. But besides the 360, the actual camera quality looks better than it does in the Murano. Now, another thing about this 360 degrees, you can change your field of vision, which is cool. And you do have like a 360 view right now, and you can check your sides, which is cool. You do get some nice camera options in this model. Another interesting thing about this is that there's a button for the glove box instead of a lever, which is keeps it more neat looking and free flowing. But yeah, in my opinion, the interior layout on the Blazer looks better, but the quality on the Murano feels much more softer and more comfortable to drive. Okay, so as far as driving, right now we are in the Nissan Murano, and this car, well, this SUV definitely feels heavier compared to the Blazer. The steering is stiffer, and this car doesn't handle as well as the Blazer. So in terms of driving, it does feel comfortable to drive, but it's not going to be like an SUV you'd want to push too much. And also when you accelerate, you do have that drone from the CVT, which is a bit annoying. It doesn't have gears like the Blazer does with the 9-speed, which shifts a lot better and smoother than this sounds. But this is a very comfortable car to drive, though. I will give the edge to this in terms of how soft it feels and the way it rides. It rides heavier. It really depends on what you're looking for when it comes to driving. So in my opinion, I do like a vehicle that feels a bit more, well, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit more sturdy. And this does feel a bit more sturdy. Now, my complaint about this is the steering. I feel like the steering is way too stiff for this vehicle. But in terms of like just sitting and cruising, this Nissan Murano does feel pretty comfortable. Okay, so now behind the wheel of the Blazer. So the Blazer feels a lot more sporty. The car feels lighter. Steering is stiffer than my liking, and it does feel a little bit stiffer than the Murano, but it feels much more tight and easier to handle, which is good. You know, this car feels a lot lighter, more planted to the ground, and when I accelerate, this car picks up better than the Murano. There's less lag, in my opinion. I think it's partly because of the transmission and the fact that it does have more power. So the Blazer feels comfortable as well. I would give the edge to the Murano in comfort just slightly. It's not too much of a difference, but this car definitely feels like it's much more sporty, more planted to the ground, and that you can push this more with confidence. But when it comes to picking between these two vehicles, it's more about preference. I would say just drive them both and see what you prefer, what driving style and experience appeals more to you. But the Blazer does feel smaller and easier just to handle on the road and to park into. Alright, so this concludes my walkthrough of both the Chevy Blazer and the Nissan Murano. Both vehicles have different strengths and weaknesses compared to the other, but generally it comes down to preference. If you're looking for something that's slightly more comfortable to drive, a little bit bigger and comfortable, I would say go with the Murano. If you're looking for more of a sporty drive and something that's just lighter, faster, and more modern, I would say go with the Chevy Blazer. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.